All right, we're going to get started here. Can everyone hear me okay? Yes. Okay. Don't all sit way in the back. I don't bite or anything. Well, first off, just thank you very much for coming to DroidCon Paris 2013. It's a great event and excited to see so many people here. Can you hear me better? Yeah. Hello? Okay. So, I'm excited to talk to you guys about some interesting things that we've got going on here at Motorola real quick. But before I start telling you about it, right, you know, this whole session is really about RhoMobile Suite and getting a sneak peek at 4.0. And I'll talk to you about it. Just real quick, show of hands. Who in here knows what RhoMobile Suite is? Do you guys know what it is? Anyone know what it is? You do. Do you use it? Have you used it before? No? Okay. All right. Have you ever seen it being used before? No? Okay. So as long as we get through these quickly here, right, I'll show you guys a demo of it. I'm sure that's what you guys want to see. You don't want me to stand up here with slides all day long. So I'll actually show you a demo of it. First off, it's important to note, who are we? Well, first off, we're Motorola Solutions. RhoMobile Suite is from Motorola Solutions. It's important to note that we are not Google. A lot of people think that Motorola is Google. That's not the case. Motorola is now two different companies. One called Motorola Mobility, which was acquired by Google. The other one is Motorola Solutions, which we do. We build traditionally very ruggedized handheld devices. This is an example of one here. It's a smaller one. It's designed for barcode scanning and those sorts of things. And what we really focus on is a newer kind of product. Of course, it's not awake. That allows us to focus more on the retail and enterprise space. So these devices are designed to be rugged and durable for enterprise applications with really good scanning capabilities. So you can see you can scan from far distances or short distances. So this is one of our newer devices on the market. It's an Android operating system. Okay, and you can get a version of this as well, as you see here. Well, it's hard to see in the picture, but on the back of it, you can pay with your credit card on the back. Okay, and then as well, we also have an enterprise rugged tablet out on the market today too. So a lot of the focus that Motorola has been doing in the past has really been around Windows Mobile and Windows CE, old operating systems. Not Windows Phone, but Windows Mobile and Windows CE. And so in the next couple of years, we're going to be coming out with a lot more devices in the Android operating system, as well as even the Windows Phone 8 operating system. So who am I? My name is Mark Kirstein. I'm an evangelist and a senior director of enterprise software with Motorola Solutions. I've got about 20 plus years of software development. I'm a coder and a developer myself. And predominantly, or mainly for the last 15 years, I've been doing nothing but mobile development. I have several mobile application development and synchronization patents out there in the market today. I've been designing and architecting complex mobile solutions for over 15 years now. My expertise is not in gaming, but in true kind of enterprise apps. So, what is RhoMobile Suite? Well, we really think of RhoMobile Suite quite simply is a toolkit that you can use your web skills, using your web skills and capabilities to develop cross-platform native applications. You can do that for mobile and smartphone operating systems, so tablets, smartphones, as well as even desktops. We support big Windows as well, operating systems for development, for both legacy and new operating systems. So we had this vision a number of years ago, being Motorola and having a lot of customers and partners. We have about 25,000 partners worldwide that develop applications for our hardware, but all of it was Windows Mobile and Windows CE. And as the new smartphone operating systems came to market, and it became more than just Windows, it became iOS and Android and BlackBerry, and then even the new entrance of Windows Phone, we realized that there really needed to be one platform that allowed you to build applications across all of them, but really use your web skills to build true native apps. So we came up with that. We wanted to make sure that we had the ability to do one for all your devices, that it really still allows you to do all the types of things you're used to doing from a consumer user experience, but more importantly, use all the capabilities and features on the device. You want to scan a barcode, you want to take a picture, you want to read a GPS setting, you want to do any number of other things, you want to take a credit card payment, all the things that you would need to do when building a real application, that's what our core focus was. So RhoMobile Suite is always what's next, is focused on several key components of the suite. The first is our platform, our framework called Roads. Anyone in here familiar with Ruby on Rails? Ruby on Rails is a platform for developing web applications using Ruby. Roads, as in roads get you to every house, allows you to leverage the same concepts and ideas of Ruby on Rails, but on a handheld device, on a smartphone. So it's an open source, free to use, MIT licensed platform. There's information on the sheets on the pages here, and I'll show you a little bit of it here in a bit. Feel free to download it and join the hundreds of thousands of developers that are already using it today. We also have RhoElements, which is an additional set of features added to Roads, which gives you enterprise class capabilities. Gives you automatic data encryption and security. Gives you access to certain device APIs and toolkits that you might need to use in more aggressive enterprise type applications. As well as RhoConnect, and I'll demo that here in a minute as well, allows you to synchronize and integrate with backend data. So I assume everyone in here develops mobile applications. How many times do you connect to web services or data in the back end and have to bring it down? Show of hands of people that connect and get data. Okay. How many people think that's kind of hard to do and takes a lot of time? Yeah? No? Maybe. Depends, right? Depends on what you need to do with it. So I'll show you kind of what the toolkit does and how easy it is to build an app and integrate to a back end. We have RhoStudio, which is a plugin into Eclipse that allows you to develop the application. We also, working with Microsoft over the last few months, have now come out with a Visual Studio plugin that's in beta format, and you can actually download a Visual Studio plugin if you like to do development in Visual Studio. We also have some cloud services. We have RhoHub that allows you to do hosted RhoConnect as well as do development and building in the cloud. So if you're on a Mac and you want to do a build for, say, a Windows Phone platform, well, you can't, right? So you need a cloud service to do that. So RhoHub would do that. If you're on a PC and you want to do an iOS build, you can do that there. But of course, always, everything is about all the different operating systems. RhoHub today has about 35,000 users using it on a regular basis today for doing and building and deploying and developing applications. And we also have RhoGallery, which is an application management solution as well, if you have lots of apps. So when you think about what the RhoMobile Suite is, you use RhoElements and Roads and RhoStudio to develop your applications. If you need to integrate it to a backend system, you can use RhoConnect. You can deploy and publish your app up in RhoHub. Though you don't have to do that, that's completely up to you, and all that is free to use. And then you can manage your applications using RhoGallery if you want. So, some key features, portability, right? Obviously the big thing is support for all the major smartphone operating systems. iOS, Android, BlackBerry, Windows Phone 7 and above, Symbian, Windows Mobile, Windows CE. So a big list here. We have the most comprehensive support of any of the device operating systems out there on the market today. Your apps are built using your web skills, and you actually compile down to native applications. And if you use the Ruby engine that's in there, the Ruby will get compiled down to bytecode as well. So it executes incredibly fast, very powerful, using a full object-oriented programming language instead of JavaScript for developing all your business logic. Enterprise solutions. So one of the big things that we focus on is the whole architecture and product is built around an MVC pattern, allowing you to separate out your UI from your logic and your data in the back end, making it really easy to maintain, support, and continue to update and enhance. And we also have a full ORM, which is an object relational mapper, which allows you to be able to quickly, easily manage data in and out. You almost don't have to do anything. We do it all for you. And that's a big difference. I'm assuming a lot of people in here have heard of PhoneGap, right? A lot of people heard of PhoneGap. So PhoneGap's a great product. I've used it before in the past. I know a lot of people that use it to build apps. PhoneGap gives you a web view and gives you an API that allows you to access the camera. So it's just an API wrapper. RhoMobile Suite is not PhoneGap. It does that, but it gives you an entire framework, much like you would if you use Java as your SDK, right? Because you're using the entire Java stack, or using .NET, or any of the others. It's more than just an API, it's a true development platform and framework, giving you a ton of other features that improve your development time. You get to use all the device capabilities that you want to be able to use, as well as secure. Not only securing your code for compiling your code so it's protected from other people to be able to steal it, but your data as well. And then you can be able to operate offline very easily. And I'll show you all that in a little bit. We have a whole slew of API capabilities. This is just a few. We have the most extensive and comprehensive list of APIs out there in the market, supported across all different platforms. So what's the architecture look like a little bit? So you write your application in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. You can as well write it using on top of our model view controller framework. We provide a series of core services. So we provide WebKit on a number of the different platforms that don't have WebKit, because not all WebKits are made equal. And this is kind of an important point. If you want to try and target different device types for building applications, you need to have a true HTML5 capability. We provide a data ORM mapper that allows you to be able to connect to the back end. We provide a SQL-like database engine, so you don't ever have to worry about whether or not the device actually has the ability to store it or not. As well as we provide the ability for you to connect and integrate to the back end. So RhoConnect allows me to connect to all sorts of different back-end systems, whether it's something like an Oracle or an SAP or any other back-end system to it. You write source adapters, and I'll show you how to do that here in a minute. They're very simple. Or you can connect directly to the back end if you want. So RhoConnect is this kind of big box that allows me to connect to almost anything. And as part of it, we use NoSQL database engines, which are the new common database engines used to power things like Twitter and any of the large websites out there today. Highly scalable, highly performant, and the other great thing is it's free, right? So we're able to do that, and then using RhoConnect, you can build and connect any of your applications. So whether or not you're building a RhoMobile app, or let's say you want to build a native Android app, but you still want to integrate to the back end, right? Everyone raised their hand that said they needed to connect to a back end system. And I'll show you how easy that is here in a little bit. If you're using PhoneGap or some other JavaScript library framework, you can actually use RhoConnect as well. So let me talk to you real quick. We've got RhoMobile Suite 4.0 coming out here in a few weeks, I think end of July, so I guess another 6 weeks. RhoMobile Suite 4.0 is going to be coming out. And really, we had some kind of key messages that we really wanted to drive, key themes, right? First off, RhoMobile Suite's the leader in what we call enterprise applications, right? Our focus isn't on gaming. I'll be completely honest with you, gaming or social apps. People have done it and built gaming and social apps with RhoMobile Suite, but that's not really our core area. But you can check out the whole laundry list of apps that people have kind of published up there and see which ones are up there. There's a couple apps up there that are gaming focused. We really wanted to enhance a lot of work that we've done. A lot about RhoMobile Suite in the early days was very Ruby focused, very heavy Ruby focused. And really now, we give you the full flexibility and power of being able to do everything you want with both Ruby and JavaScript as well. One standard clean set of APIs, and this is great, unlike a lot of the other platforms out there in the market today. If you use other cross-platform frameworks, the APIs are different. If you're using an iOS or an Android device, the camera API might be different. On ours, the camera API is a single API and works across all the device types. We're adding support for Windows Phone 8, Jelly Bean, and MPA3, which is something specific to a Motorola platform. So common APIs, JavaScript APIs for all device capabilities, Windows Phone 8 support as I mentioned, and enhancing our support for the stock Android browser. One of the big things that I mentioned earlier was that we provide WebKit for the devices that don't. And that's because a lot of early Android devices didn't have WebKit on them as the core rendering engine. And that was kind of interesting. A lot of people think it is, but it really wasn't. And believe it or not, gingerbread is still, I think, 35 or 40% of the existing Android install base out there. So a lot of people really haven't migrated yet, but we have support for stock browser as well. In RhoStudio, our IDE, we've got full end-to-end testing. If you do test-driven development and you want to do things like spec work and do unit tests on your application, your code, so that when you make changes to it, you know that it works. We have full integrated testing. We have autocomplete everywhere. We have full app generation capability, and I'll show you that here in a minute. It's very cool. And compile time warnings for anything that you're using when you're using other APIs that you might not necessarily want to use or be meaning to use. RhoConnect has really gotten a big enhancement as well. We now support JavaScript source adapters. I'll show you a Ruby source adapter though. Significant performance improvements, a lot of scaling, and you can do hosting. Of course, you can host a RhoConnect instance up on RhoHub, but if you wanted to host instances in other environments as well, you can. So SAIC, Engine Yard, but of course, we're big fans of Heroku. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Heroku. Heroku has one of the largest engines in the world today for hosting applications. Heroku is almost predominantly Ruby, by the way, and they were bought by Salesforce.com a little over a year ago for over $200 million. And Salesforce.com is right now converting everything over to Ruby, which is actually really interesting. So, with that said, I'm going to stop talking, and I'm going to try and do a demo here while I'm holding this mic. So I want to switch over to RhoMobile Suite, or RhoStudio. So as I mentioned earlier, RhoStudio is just a plugin inside of Clips. Does anyone in here use Clips today? Yeah, okay, so almost everyone, okay. So that's great because you should really be very familiar with the toolkit. It's really easy, you just install it as a plugin and you're off and running. So the first thing you want to do really is you want to create a new project, and in this particular case I'm going to create a RhoMobile application, and I'm going to call this DroidCon. I'm going to try and type with one hand. You know what, this will work. Being able to type with one hand will be okay.
Shall I hold the mic?
No, that's okay. You know what? It's really good that I'm not going to, because I'm going to show you how easy and how little typing you have to do to actually build an application. So thank you, though. I really appreciate it. So what this is doing right now is this created a project for me here in the project tree. And when I expand it and take a look at it, right, it looks like kind of a standard application. I have my app. I have the framework in here. So you have full access to our open source framework. You can leverage it, use it. There's a lot of forks of it. It's hosted up on GitHub. You can do whatever you want with it, but of course, it's open source. So be aware. We use jQuery and jQuery Mobile for the UI styling. If you want to plug that, use jQuery Mobile, or you want to use a different one, like let's say people like to use Sencha or maybe a different styling library, you can pull jQuery Mobile out and you can stick Sencha in really easily. So here we have some basic standard config files on like kind of what my build settings are, and then I have a row config file here as well that allow me to do things like specify a start path, maybe set a log level, right? Like if I'm running the app and I'm getting errors, or the app's not working or it's crashing, how do you debug? Well, we actually have full logging and automation plugged into it. So it really improves your productivity and allows you to quickly and easily find what you're looking for in problems. So what I'm going to do real quick is, so here's a real quick app. I'll show you, this is the index page, this is the start. It's just standard HTML, and then some syntax in here for a little bit of Ruby in here, right? But start developing your application. Start building your UI or whatnot you want to do, and design and build it. So what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to build a model. Oh, before I do that, anyone in here have their tablets out? They don't. Okay. So this is just a Heroku app. It's a small little Ruby on Rails app running on Heroku. And this is just a little bit of data here that I have up online. If you want, you can get online right now, go to this URL, and add some entries for me. If you want to add some data in here right now, feel free to do that, and you'll get to see that pop up on the mobile device here in just a second. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a model being a data model or a data object on the device for SKU, name, brand, price, and quantity. for product. So now I'm going to maybe put this down tight. And that's it. So it'll generate my model. And now you'll see a product here. You'll also see a test folder for my product spec here. So now I can go in and start writing all my unit tests and all my test code to make sure that my application is working correctly. So on the product side of things, I look at it, and this is the great thing about it, and the value of what the framework and the platform does. When I look at my product data model and my object, because we use a model of what's called property bag, that's it. That's all you have to do. Normally, you have to write the query statements to get the data in and out of your database, right? When you guys get data and you connect to the back end and you pull it down as a JSON feed or an XML feed, and you parse it, then you have to write it to the database. You have to do all that work. The platform and the framework does all of that for you automatically, and you don't ever have to worry about it. So right here, where it says enable sync, that's commented out. I'll enable that here in a minute, and I'll show you guys what that does. So when you look at it, this is the HTML for what my index page looks like, right? I've got some header, I've got some button left and button right, standard jQuery style. I've got a products each, so I'm going to iterate through a list of all my products because I do a find all, right? But I can do a different kind of find or pull back different data and update that. So what I'm going to do is, I haven't done anything else yet, so what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to create a run configuration. And I'm going to select my DroidCon app. And here you see you can select all the different platforms you want, right? And then you have a drop down for, if you want to, but you don't really need to, of the specific version of Android that you want to be able to target. Now the other great thing about this platform is, I know everyone in here does Android development, right? How many people use a simulator? Why don't you use a simulator?
It's faster on the device.
It is, isn't it? The simulators are horrible, aren't they? They're really crappy, actually. So I'm going to show you the fastest way in the world to build an app, compile and debug it, deploy it, and debug it. Don't blink. Okay? So I just built that app, and there it is. Now it's running inside of your Rho simulator, just that fast. Okay? Here's my products app. Did I run the right one here? Hold on, sorry. There it goes. Okay. So now this is where I would need to add my link. This is the application, okay? So I'm going to make a quick change. I'm going to go back to my index ERB. I'm going to link up to my product object that I just created. I'm going to go ahead and save that. Made a quick change. I'm going to run it. And there it is. Did I spell Paris right? I did, yeah. Okay. So, here's my app. Now, if I want to create a new product, I can come in here and give it a SKU number, a name, a brand, a price, and quantity, and create, and there it is. Okay? My whole product here, everything, I can create it, I can edit it, I can give it a different SKU, update it, go back home, go back in. There's my app. Right? It manages all the data for me and allows me to build any sort of type of application you really want that's very kind of data focused, obviously. Right? So now what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to make a couple quick changes here. So first off, on my index.erb, I don't like SKU as my list, right? That just doesn't make any sense. So I can do, product.brand, and then I maybe want to add a hyphen and do a product.name. Save that, and then let's test that, see what that looks like. Okay, that this a little bit better, right? I can see that, I know what I'm doing. Now the biggest thing is that I want to be able to connect to and integrate to the back-end system, right? And pull down that thing. So let's see if anyone has added any extra data up here. Nope. Oh, we did. We got another one. We got next gen product C. All right, great. Thank you. At least we added one product in there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and go back to RhoStudio. And earlier, I built a RhoConnect server, and I'm running it here locally on my laptop. You don't have to run it in the cloud. You can run it on your laptop or on your own server. And I have a source adapter here called product.rb. And this is all you need to do in order to be able to integrate or connect to a back-end system. This is really cool when you think about it. So first off, I initialize and I say I'm simply going to connect to that URL, the rhostore.roku.app, right? .com/products. And then I have my code for my query. So I want to make a simple REST client call to get back the JSON feed. I'm going to parse it and then I'm going to iterate through all the items that I get back in the JSON feed, and I'm going to give it back to my result set, and that's it. That's it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines of code. And I can connect to any JSON feed, get all the data down onto the device, persist it, it'll save it into the database on the device, and fully available for me to be able to use and have access to. Now, if I want to create a record on the device, and then I want to push it up into the cloud, I've got 4 lines of code. I just simply need to do a post with the actual data in the JSON body. The update is 3 lines of code, and then the delete, obviously, very simple. So as you guys can see, being able to integrate and connect to a back-end system is very, very easy. All I need to do in order to make my app be able to use that is go into the rho-config file that we looked at earlier and specify my sync server. So here is what my sync server is running locally on my machine. So I'm now going to tell that this server, this RhoConnect app, or this RhoMobile app, that RhoConnect is usually now how I synchronize. I'm going to go ahead and save that. And then my product.rb, instead of it being a data model defined only on the device, I'm going to say, I want to enable it. And that's it. Now my app can fully synchronize to the back end. So let me go ahead and run it again. There it is. Now there's no data yet, okay? But the data I created earlier is gone. Even though I kind of killed the simulator and brought it back up, you guys saw the data was still there, the data is gone. And the reason is because what I need to go ahead and do is I need to go ahead and log in to the back end. Okay? Connect. And it's synchronized and brought all that data down. And there it is. Oh, someone else created another device too. There it is. Pulled all that data down from the system and sent it here. So now I can go ahead and create a new record. Actually, so let's cancel that. So we've got 5 records here. So someone else created another record. There we go. I can go ahead and create another record. So we'll give this another SKU here. We'll give it a name. Create that record, okay? So you've got my Motorola Atrix here. I'll go ahead and synchronize the data up, okay? And then I come back up here, and you'll see that the data is there automatically. And that's it. That's all you have to do. It's amazingly simple and easy, as you can see, to start building some really complex applications. Now you can start to tie in all your APIs, your camera, your device capabilities, anything you want to be able to do. If I go back to RhoStudio here, you can see the controller where you would implement all your business logic. If you're used to doing a model view controller, does anyone in here, does everyone know what a model view controller is? You guys know what a model view controller is? Okay, good. So all your controller logic is right here, very simple and easy to use, and then kind of all your different files, right? So if I wanted to edit or change what the look or feel was of the edit screen, you could go ahead and do that as well. So some really cool stuff here. Let's see here. So one quick thing I wanted to show you was this is our developer community here. Let me make that a little bit more visible. our developer community here. We have hundreds of thousands of developers using the tools. We've got over 35,000 of those developers using RhoHub, which allows you to build apps in the cloud and host RhoConnect instances. You can also go online and check out our documentation. Now this is Edge Docs. Edge Docs is our documentation for the upcoming 4.0 release. The older docs are a little bit different from a table perspective or from a layout perspective. But here's RhoMobile Suite. You can come up to our developer.motorolasolutions.com. The link is on the papers there that we've got there. You can see all sorts of different apps built using RhoMobile, as well as you can download the beta right here. Follow us on Twitter, get support, look at videos, get access to training, even books. So we've got a couple books, we don't, but other people have written and published books on RhoMobile. You can buy those as well. I don't actually know any of those guys. They have no affiliation with Motorola. They're just good old developers out there in the ecosystem. So with that, here's all the information I was telling you about, right? We had a lot of downloads so far in 2013. We've had over 50,000 downloads. This is a little outdated. We actually have 35,000 developers now. There is 3 books published. We've got a ton of people registered on the forums. There's also a Google group as well, on Google Groups. That's a pretty active community. We don't monitor that though. That's a community, but we do monitor Launchpad here, and we get a lot of action on that as well. So a lot of people. Here's the information on Launchpad and how you can get support. And fundamentally, I just kind of want to end with RhoMobile, in our mind, really makes sense, right? You're allowed to future-proof your business. You can build that application once, and it'll run all your different device types. You get full device flexibility, access to enterprise features and functionality. And I don't know if you guys saw it, but it's fast. Fast, fast, fast. You can develop fast, you can connect fast, you can integrate fast, you can debug fast. It's a great, awesome tool for that. And a large developer community. And not to mention, we won Technology of the Year award last year. So anyways, that's it. If you have any questions, thank you. Follow us at RhoMobile.com or at RhoMobile. And then there's a URL link for our developer community. Any questions? Yeah?
Question. On the next version, will Ruby be mandatory for the server-side part?
Oh, that's a good question. So the question was, will Ruby be mandatory for the server-side part in the next version? No, that's actually one of the main features of the next version, is that I showed you that source adapter for connecting was Ruby. In the next release in 4.0, you'll be able to do that in JavaScript. So we will offer that now. That's one of our main features of the next release, is Ruby will not be mandatory on the server side. That's a good question. Yeah. Good. Any other questions? I think we've got some prizes too. Yeah, sure. There you go. All right. Good question. Wow. Oh, yeah. More questions? So, any other questions? Yeah.
Can you really access to all the hardware features of the devices? The camera, the accelerometer? The
accelerometer, yeah. The list is pretty endless. So if I go up here to the documentation, right, and I look at the API docs, I mean, the list is pretty massive. Barcode, battery, camera, card reader, file, key capture, sensors, what sensors do you want? This is the new version, so you've got accelerometer, gyroscope, you've got just a ton of things. Proximity, pressure, right? Some devices have pressure sensors in them.
Yes.
I mean, you start to think about it, and the main reason is, honestly, is because a lot of our devices have unique sensors in them that no one else has in the world. Full NFC capability. If you can come up with something that exists in a device that we don't support, you let me know, but I will guarantee you won't find one.
Okay.
You won't. So we support everything, but it's all right here in the documentation, fully available. Even examples and everything up here. So we try to do a good job with the framework being open source and really giving you guys almost everything you need. So and that's an important thing, right? It's a framework, not just an API. Right, and I think you guys saw that today. So that's a really good question, yeah. Okay, other questions? That's a good question. All right.
Now regarding this, sorry,
Yes.
it's not only the APIs of this tool, but you can write an extension.
Yeah, I didn't get into that. So one of the cool capabilities is that we have full extension capability. I'm not used to the new docs page. Let me go to the old docs page. Where are my old docs? Right, I can't see this new format references. There we go, docs. So you can do full extensions. So just search for extension. Here it is. Extending the roads framework. So you can build full extensions. So the framework allows you to extend it. So let's say you wrote a native engine, something, some calculation engine or something. You wrote it in either the NDK or you wrote it in the Java SDK. You can actually take that and expose it as an API up inside roads. So you can wrap it as a native extension. The other thing is you can actually extend this with native views as well. So there's native mapping engine built into this as well if you want, where you can get native turn-by-turn navigation type mapping all inside your application. So, yeah, good. Yes?
And about licensing, it's on this paper it talks about demo licensing. So
Yeah.
if you don't have a demo license, what are the license terms?
Okay, so the main roads framework, the core framework is open source, MIT, free to use license. There is the RhoElements engine, which is a few features that go above and beyond roads, and those are per device licensing. But we're looking at changing that right now. I wouldn't let that, if you've got major concerns with that, please let me know. We're like in the middle of changing that, and being Motorola, it just takes a while to do that. But you know, look at the open source framework. We've got thousands of developers that use it that never interact with us in any way, shape, or form. Most apps that are for universities actually are built with RhoMobile. You can go on and look. A lot of the major apps are, you know, University of Peru is built using RhoMobile, as well as most of the universities in the United States are all built using RhoMobile, with no license implications at all because they use the open source framework. The open source framework does 95% of what you need. There are some features that you might need that would be in the RhoElements, depending on what you're doing in your app.
Can you give an example of which feature wouldn't be there?
I'm trying to think. You know, a good example of that would be in our documentation here. Where is it?
What about NSL?
Oh yeah, so that's a good example. Thank you. Okay, so if you have a device that has a built-in mag stripe reader for taking credit cards, that's an API that's only available in RhoElements. Okay, so RhoElements is a bundle, a package that sits on top of roads that has additional APIs. RhoElements has automatic data encryption. If you need automatic data encryption, that's in RhoElements. MSR is one.
The support for Windows Mobile.
Oh yeah, so support for Windows Mobile. If you want to develop an application for Windows Mobile or Windows CE, does anyone in here want to do that? I wouldn't worry about it, so. Okay. Yeah.
Well, I actually have a second question about WebRTC, but I'm not sure if you know about that, how that would work together with the camera access or something like that.
WebRTC.
Yeah, it's a standard, being standardized by WWDC.
Oh.
WebRTC, so it's a peer-to-peer communications.
Mm.
Nothing about that.
No, I don't have anything about that. That's a good question.
If it's supported by the native browser of the operating system, we just open a web view. So it's a web view that is rendering your JavaScript and your HTML files. So if it's supported by the platform, by the operating system that you are running the application on, it's in the platform.
If it's not supported by the platform, then maybe the WebKit.
So we
take over.
at that point, you can write something on the Ruby side because you are working outside of the browser sandbox. So you can do whatever you want. You can open a socket and do communicate with other devices.
Good. Any other questions? Yeah.
Sorry, I'm very new about the Ruby, and I don't know. It's compiled down to the native API.
So normally when you build a Ruby app, kind of like a PHP, it's interpreted as it's executing. But in our scenario, there is a Ruby bytecode engine. So we actually do take the Ruby and compile it down to bytecode. Because we do that, it actually executes faster than a Java application does. So it's really, really fast because it's all written on the NDK layer.
We can do a live. Can I push templates, Ruby templates from the server to the mobile?
Yes, you can. So there's a couple ways to do that. First off, you can do a WebSocket if you want. That's one option. The other is you can build your own protocol inside Ruby and manage that with Ruby threads and using an object-oriented system. That works sort of well. But our philosophy and our mindset is if you have to do that, then that means that there's something core in the platform that's missing. So what we actually have is we have a feature called RhoConnect push. So you can do full push capability. Let me see here, I'll show you. Push synchronization. So we have full support for push as well, using that. So the great thing about that is you can push and use one standard API set for push, and it'll manage all the different ways that you would actually push to the different platforms. Because if you want to do a notification on iOS, that's completely different than push capability on Android. And we all know that Google has changed their mind like 5 times on how to do push on the Android device, right? So the RhoConnect, the whole platform manages all that for you. So it's a really good question. And that's a feature of RhoConnect. So, yeah. Good. Great. Any other questions?
Yes.
Okay, yes.
One last question. You emphasize that RhoMobile is made for enterprise applications.
Yeah.
But we like to have tools that we can use for all the projects we can do. And imagine we focus on an application that we want to be mainstream and that will be a premium with a revenue at least.
Yeah.
Something
So totally doable. All of these applications here that you see here are all, these are not necessarily enterprise applications. That's our core focus, but a lot of people build applications on it. In terms of Motorola, what we do as a business, as an enterprise, we focus on selling this to large enterprises, right? And so the platform is focused on supporting those enterprise deals. But the truth is that we have hundreds of thousands of developers using RhoMobile to build apps using the Rhodes platform and the framework, all being open source, and building apps that are not necessarily enterprise apps, right? So, University of Memphis, Kettering University, Temple University, University of Montevideo. There's lots of apps up here. You want to go. The tourist app for the city of Mainz in Germany is built, right? There's another German app. I think that's a Polish app. There's a Spanish, a French app there, right? Here's the Beer Geek app provides food pairings, beer reviews, and a beer styles catalog and beer glossary. So you can build any app you want with it, right?
Okay, but about the monetization of the app.
Sorry.
How do you integrate in what file, at what level can you integrate something like AdMob?
Oh, AdMob. So AdMob supports working in just standard browser engines, right? So you can plug in your JavaScript API and pop it right in, right? It's not something we quote unquote provide out of the box, but there's samples on how to do that, right? If I go and look at, say, an application Like this application here, as an example, I go look at this app on Pinterest wants me to confirm my location now. I don't know why. Oh, here it is. Okay. So this app is an example. It's, like 100,000 downloads. I think it's a free app, right? Really good reviews and ratings. So this app, as an example, though, is the exact same app that you would see on the iTunes Apple Store as well, right? It's identical from a UI perspective. It's the exact same app. Not a single code change between the two. So I know we're running out of time, and other people are looking to come in. Any other questions? It's a good question. So, all right. Oh yeah, that's right. Thank you. There's a booth downstairs. We have a booth downstairs. A lot of people, some developers are here that can help you out if you're interested. But you've got the paper. Take the paper with you. Go online, download it. It's free to download. It's free to begin using. It's free to do.